habit in your 20s, don't see that impact in 20s to 30s. You hit 40s and you will realize how that habit has changed you and impacted you.
When you think back on your 20s, what for you would be immediate reflections on the professional front, personal front, learnings, and beyond from a broader level?
My biggest learning from my 20s has been the failures. I wanted to be a sportsman, wanted to play for India. And when I went to what they call a School Games Federation of India, I realized that when I was bowling to somebody, the guy who was not even some college hit me for 5 6s. So obviously I was not trained. I grew up in a small place. Then I wanted to be a musician. Again, failure, because there was no place for me to learn in that small town. I was very good in maths and physics. So that helped. So I thought, yes, IIT is my next destination. Did not get through. So all these failures, and after that I'm proud. I'll just say what I did was, after 4 years I gave CAT, cleared CAT, and that made the change. Every time these failures, I think, has made me to absorb and understand that these failures is, you never ever give up. Things will happen.
It's also 20s are a period of experiencing different things in life and different experiences, everything else. So I love to hear your reflection on your 20s, but also really like I love to double tap on how the experience part of it kind of played a role.
I always wanted to be a perfectionist, and it was always a circus trying to balance everything around. I did a poor job of it. Not only that, when I couldn't balance things, I would feel very bad about it and take it out on anyone and everyone around me. So balancing was hard, but I think over the years, when I got to my later 20s, I realized, calm down. You don't need to balance, and you don't need to get everything right the first time. You can go slow, but that came to me late 20s, early 30s, not earlier.
Sameep, I want to come to you and say that, especially when you talk about habits and you're talking about just the focus on taking risks or not taking risks, especially during that period, because there is advice you get during that time, but there's also how you look at risks as well. So I want to learn from you about how you looked at habits in your 20s, but also like what is your thought process on risk?
So you pick up a habit in your 20s, don't see that impact in 20s to 30s. You hit 40s and you will realize how that habit has changed you and impacted you. Right? It can be a positive impact if you picked a good habit. It could be a really bad impact if you picked a wrong habit. The habits have a way to catch up with you, right? They will catch up with you. In your 20s, you are at a peak of your health. You can take anything. Your body will take anything you throw at your body, and it will come back very strong. In your 20s, all right, I think in your school you are taught, okay, don't take any risk, go to engineering, everything will be good after that. And that just goes on. And I think somehow the risk should be really opposite to that. I think in your 20s, you can take any risk. Primarily because, you have a long career in front of you, long life in front of you, to overcome from failure of that risk. Don't listen to people who say, don't take risk right now, first get settled, then you can take risk. Once you get settled, you can't take a risk. Right? I think, it's all set. So I think, from a financial point of view, from a health point of view, from a time point of view, I think 20s is the best time to take risk.
When I look at the 20s, it's also a period when you're trying to figure out what your priorities are, right? And those habits are also about the priorities. We've spoken about some of those as well. How do you look at even that aspect, and what you get satisfaction from, what you kind of work towards? All of that stuff starts getting molded in that period. So do habits play a role in that, and how is that for you?
Yeah, I do think so. I think I would start with before I come to that, I think I'd also want to say that other than habits of, the saving and health, which are extremely important, the habit of being disciplined is also something that, one needs to inculcate in the 20s. And I used to be somebody who would really look up to people who are disciplined, and hence maybe some of it trickled in. I looked up to the principal of my school. She would be there every single morning, 9 a.m. sharp, standing tall in front of this huge assembly of students, not missing a single day, no matter how the weather was, how the traffic was, or how her health was. I used to really wonder. I mean, she was like discipline personified. She didn't have to tell us that, be disciplined, be timely. We all looked up to her and we just did the right things. So I think sometimes, to develop a habit, having a role model or someone you can look up to, also helps.
20s in many ways is the first time you actually become technically an adult, and you're suddenly seeing everything from professional to personal to ups and downs and everything that happen, and and all of you picked up such interesting aspects and went towards that.
Do you see like a generational difference happening between the current students in terms of the hustle and the rest that they're coming along from?
During my generation, when I was a kid, like, there are only 3 professions in my life. In life, that's what my parents told me: engineering, medical, begging. You do this or do something, because nothing else is important for in your life. But when I was asking my younger one, like, he is like, okay, I want to be a chef, and I like good. At least somebody has thought about their life a lot more, right? And I think that that's a change in the way how the generation has moved from previous generation to current generation. They have access to the information that they need, what they can do in their life. Ask the questions with respect to people. Okay, what do you think? For Diwali, I was in Goa and we were talking to one of the chef in the hotel. Okay, how is your life looking like? And because my son wants to be chef, then he said one thing. Okay, passion is fine, but let's realize what you're getting into. For example, I'm a chef and I'm talking to you on Diwali evening, being away from family. Having this kind of availability of information, the ability to think, is actually making them take more judgmental risk in their life.